Hello and welcome to An Archer's Tale. And because it's Easter, I'm going to talk about chocolate. Not just any chocolate, this chocolate. And how the humble Kit Kat has changed the world and you didn't even know it. So let's start at the beginning. And the beginning was Henry Rowntree, a Quaker in York, in North Yorkshire. He actually wanted to set up a confectionery and bought a disused foundry. And this disused foundry kicked off the empire that is Rowntree's confectionery. And the confectionery was not just chocolate, it was also fruit pastels and wine gums. So for me personally, growing up, I used to love the wine gums. Now, in the 1930s, they decided to create a chocolate bar that had some wafer in it, and they decided to have four fingers. I wonder what particular chocolate bar this was. Of course, it was Kit Kat. Now, the Kit Kat was initially used to be a working man's chocolate bar to take with him to work, basically. And then after the Second World War, he decided to actually export the chocolate to the former British colonies all over the world with the slogan, have a break, have a Kit Kat. Simple as that. When Kit Kat actually came to Japan in the 1970s, it was actually sold to the people as a taste of British culture and the experience, because many of the Japanese people at the time were then making their way, traveling abroad, so they wanted to have a little bit to take back with them. And the famous chocolate was a great way to do that. And then in 1988, Nestle, the Swiss chocolate conglomerate, also acquired Rowntree as well. And as well as all of the company's sweets and confectionery, Kit Kat was included in that also. Now, in the country of Japan, Kit Kat, Nestle actually did studies to figure out what is the best way to market Kit Kats to the general population. And they found that the students would be the best people who would actually embrace it. However, the students didn't really like the slogan, or didn't really catch on with the slogan of take a break, have a Kit Kat, because of their exams. So the exams for Japanese students, Junken, I may have pronounced that completely wrong, but I apologize, was all about, for them, the most important thing for these students. And they didn't really want a break. They kind of wanted to focus and get the exams done and then have a long rest. So it kind of meshed with their ethos at the time. So they didn't see it as the Kit Kat was the chocolate for them. And hence the reason why it wasn't fantastic sales in the early 90s. Masafumi Ishubashi, a local Nestle manager, and his boss, Kazuo Takoya, the head of Kit Kat sales in the small island of Kyushu, saw a surge in actually Nestle sales among students. They were wondering why, and obviously asked the question. They realized that the name Kit Kat sounded a lot like Kito Katsu, which means overcome. And that was kind of a good look slogan for the students who were trying to overcome their exams, the Junken exams. So that's one of the reasons why they were gifting Kit Kats as presents, as good luck charms. Now, the Kobe team at the time didn't dare change the slogan, okay, because Switzerland head office and headquarters wanted to keep the consistency in marketing across the countries at the time. So what they decided to do instead, smartly, is not tell them anything about what they wanted to do moving forward, which was, in their local Japanese advertising, they added the phrase Kito Sakuri Sakuyo, which means wishes come true. In their Japanese adverts, they asked hotels next door to exam centers to distribute Kit Kats to students, and with the slogans on postcards just to help through these exams as well. Now, the wording was astute, and literally because now Kit Kat sales not only surged in the area, but all over Japan. Teenagers redefined the bar as an omari, a good luck token sold at Shinto shrines and Buddhist temples. And in January of 2003, they actually saw that KitKat sales increased 34% amongst Japanese teenagers. So it became a blessing to give to somebody, and that's how they redefined the simple chocolate. And then the Kobe team let the head office know over in Switzerland what was going on. And obviously, the Switzerland team headquarters was like, well, things are going up, so the sales are going up, so we'll let you continue doing things in Japan. So that emboldened them to do different types of marketing campaigns, such as using these packages as tickets to get to Kurosawa, for example, on Fukushima. Also, using the Japanese postal service to persuade them to accept them as prepaid envelopes, for example. That's the first time and the only time that the postal service has ever done that for any company, let alone a chocolate company coming from the UK. Then, obviously, the marketing campaign was doing well, so they decided to do different things with their flavors. So normally they just have the normal Kit Kats, but they were emboldened to do something quite different. So they created the pink one back in 2003, using strawberry flavored one, but it didn't stop there. They also created a matcha green tea version. They created a soy sauce one. They created a wasabi one, sake even. They even did a limited edition throat lozenge flavor for people that had sore throats. There, over time, the flavors then became distinct to the various regions within Japan. So, how it worked was the purple sweet potatoes from Okinawa, they had a flavor for that, for the Okinawa ones. Or the various cheeses from the Hokkaido area, they created a Kit Kat version for that particular area because they knew that the regions were synonymous with a particular flavor or particular vegetable, or in this case, cheese. So when they then did a whiskey version that's coming out later on this year, that says that the chocolate was aged for 150 days in whiskey barrels, limited edition Kit Kats have literally taken over the Japanese region. It's just fun, varied, and amazing stuff. And it didn't just end there, because obviously, as you can see, we don't just have these Kit Kats anymore. We have various ones all over the UK. It's actually taken over the world. It's a symbolism of globalization on an epic scale. If you can imagine that a Scottish, Swiss, because they're made in Germany as well, these chocolates. They're not made in York anymore, and they're not made in Switzerland, they're made in Germany, so it's German. And a Japanese inflection, it's actually become a massive symbol of globalization. It's actually created, over the countries that it's actually sold in, a kind of mishmash of innovation, of experimentation, and a symbol of what you can achieve if you really allow diversity, if you really allow people of a certain region to embrace something that's not native to their country, but give their own spin. And that is how the simple Kit Kat has changed the world, because that was done in the 1970s to the 80s to the 90s to the noughties and 2000s, and it's helped continue that proliferation of globalization. Whether you think it's a bad thing or a good thing, I think this is a great positive for it, globalization. The humble Kit Kat. So when you're tucking into Kit Kats this Christmas, or any chocolate, have a think about how amazing it is to get various different chocolates, various different things, all coming together from various different places all over the world for us to consume whenever we want, but obviously during this Easter. And on that note, have a great Good Friday, have a happy Easter, take care of yourself, stay safe, and we'll be back again with more Archer's Tale later on next week and throughout the month. We'll also try and get some interviews in, lining a few up, so that should be fun. And if you've got any questions or any comments, and if you want to obviously subscribe to the channel, if you're watching this on YouTube, please do so. And also, if you are subscribing or you're watching on any of the socials like Instagram and Facebook, please subscribe and like the video as well. Until then, like I say, take care of yourselves.